Hello, friends. This is Dr. Conrad Vine, and I would like to share with you one of the most precious memories from my childhood. When we were growing up, it was myself, my twin brother, and our two sisters. And we used to play one game all the time. We played it on Sabbath evening when the Sabbath was out. We played it when we were driving in the car together. It was a game that was called Just a Minute. And how does the game Just a Minute work? Well, my father would act as the moderator, and us four children, we would be the part playing the game. And my father would say, "So, Conrad," he said, "you have 1 minute to speak without hesitation, repetition, or deviation on the subject of." Then he'd give me a random subject. It could be polar bears, it could be pineapples, it could be Christmas, it could be car tires. It could be this public swimming pool, or it could be the summer rains. Whatever the topic was, it really didn't matter. Now, the rules of the game are you must speak without hesitation. So you cannot say, you cannot have fillers like or like. Those are all fillers. If you say any of those things, then one of the other participants can challenge you. And if they make a successful challenge, then they get the topic for the rest of the minute. And if you have any deviation from the topic, so you may be given the topic of, let us say, reindeer to speak about, and you end up speaking about cats and dogs for the first 5 seconds, then one of my siblings would challenge and say he's deviating from the topic. They would take over the topic for the rest of the minute. And if there was a repetition, so you can repeat the word itself, but we weren't allowed to repeat any adverbs like quickly or softly. We weren't allowed to repeat any nouns. We weren't allowed to repeat any prepositions, and we weren't allowed to repeat any verbs. So you have to have 1 minute of speech that's entirely fresh words that makes complete sense. So we used to play this game all the time. So if I received the topic, let us say reindeer, for 1 minute, I would start out. And if my brother thought in 4 or 5 seconds that I was talking nonsense, he could raise his hand and he'd make a challenge. And if my father said this was a correct challenge, Conrad has deviated from the topic, he's repeated himself, or he's hesitated, then my brother would get the topic for the rest of the minute. Then he would talk. And as he is talking, we're all listening to him. And if he hesitates, deviates, or repeats himself, then we would make a challenge and we would get the topic back. And every time you make a successful challenge, you get a point. And if you're speaking when the minute finishes, you get 2 points. Well, what was the benefit of this parlor game we used to play at home? It was simply this. We learned very, very quickly to think on our feet. We learnt that when somebody asks you a question, you need to give yourself 3 to 5 seconds of filler just to say some things while you're frantically processing your answer in your head before you give it. So, for instance, somebody may say you have 1 minute to speak without hesitation, repetition, or deviation on the topic of polar bears, beginning now. And you may say something like, "I am delighted that you've asked me to speak about polar bears. There are Kodiak bears, there are grizzly bears, there are sloth-like bears, there are brown bears, but my favorite bears are the polar bears who live in the Arctic area. And of course, there are no polar bears in the Antarctic because Antarctic means no bears in Latin," etc., etc. So you learned very, very quickly to think on your feet. You learned very, very quickly to have a good command of the English language. You learned how to formulate a presentation in your head in split seconds that would only last a minute. Now you may think to yourself, well, a minute, that's not long to speak. Well, I can assure you it takes some skill and expertise to speak for a minute without hesitation, repetition, or deviation on a topic that you're given just like this, and off you go. We used to play this game all the time as 4 kids in our family. Little did we realize that this was a great preparation for life. There is going to come a time when we have to give an answer for the faith that we hold dear. We are called to defend the faith. We are called to speak forth our testimonies. Jesus says in Mark 13 that do not worry beforehand what you are to speak, but words will be given you from on high. And so there is coming a time in the Christian's life and experience when we have to give articulate answers to questions that we were not expecting. So I want to encourage you, if you're raising kids, or maybe at a coming family event or family gathering, maybe after Thanksgiving meal or a Christmas meal, have a go at this parlor game. It doesn't cost any money. All you need is a stopwatch, a piece of paper, and a pen to keep the score, and off you go. And you can talk about random topics, and it may be a bit of harmless fun, but you're preparing your mind. You're preparing your mind to think very clearly, to think very quickly. You're learning to articulate ideas on the hoof and off the cuff. You're learning to speak convincingly and with credibility when you have pretty much zero preparation. This is all preparation for Christians, how we are to share our faith in the final crisis. It's called Just a Minute. I'd encourage you to try the game and just see how God sharpens that mind and trains that tongue and softens that heart so that when you speak, it will be the Holy Spirit speaking through you. May God bless you as you play Just a Minute. Have fun.